Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first interview of the interview series for The Era with Brian Gregoire. I know that I had interviews on my other channel, and those will continue as well, but this is the first interview for The Era. It's a great day in America for that reason. And there's no two gentlemen that I would rather be interviewing to start this series than Micah Howell and McPeters. I had to ask him what his last name was for clarification. a few minutes ago, I almost started the interview without asking his last name. Rookie mistake. And my name is Brian Gregoire, of course. And these gentlemen are the co-founders of the Hometown Heroes Sports Agency, and that's part of the mission of this channel is learning more about people who start businesses in sports and people who have established successful careers in collegiate and professional sports. So I'm glad that you gentlemen can join me today. And honestly, I saw last year when you first came out with this idea. Like I heard about it through the grapevine here at The Edge. That's where we're filming about a junior from the University of Alabama wanted to start a sports agency. I'm like, this is interesting. It's something I thought before. I'd like to meet this gentleman, and here we are talking today. So, with that being almost a year ago to this point,
yeah.
How did you conceive that idea? Did it just come to you randomly? Did you strategize for a while?
Yeah, so I grew up playing every sport under the sun. It felt like was always on some kind of field or court or track or whatever, and so ended up I stopped playing when I came to college, but kind of wanted to stay in the sports industry. Wasn't really sure how I was going to do that. Worked a couple different jobs. And then when name, image, and likeness, NIL, was legalized on July 1st, 2021, I started to kind of look around in that space, ended up getting another job for a company in the field and led their sales team. So I was in charge of the team that went out and recruited the college athletes. And from there kind of got a feeling for what it was like to work with athletic departments, student athletes, compliance departments, people like that. And so worked there for about a year. I was in charge of a team of 25 college interns who did that. So I got all that experience. Ended up leaving that company in June of 2023, or 2022, and decided, my time with that company was done, but I wanted to stay in the sports industry and really liked what I was doing in NIL. And so, if you're going to take a shot at something, why not go for it? So decided to kind of start looking into what it would look like to own a sports agency. I kind of saw an opportunity in NIL and wanted to run with it. So started working on Hometown Heroes, and that's when Brett and I kind of got together. And Brett used to play college baseball. I had worked in the business side of NIL, and so it worked really well for us to come together and kind of launch Hometown Heroes from there.
It's like a business athlete combination too. It's two different viewpoints, which I'm sure is something that only enriches Hometown Heroes, because when you have those two perspectives combining, you can create so many different opportunities and have different ways to approach things. So that's a great model when it comes to leadership for you guys, I'm sure. And Brett, what's a little backstory on you and how you came to be with Hometown Heroes?
Yeah, so Micah and I actually go pretty far back. We grew up going to the same church together. His dad was my youth pastor for a while, and then they have moved a lot and ended up moving from Atlanta to Texas, and then now they live in Birmingham. But we actually were not in touch after he moved, because I was in like 6th grade or something, so a while ago. But we have a mutual friend that approached me that summer and was telling me about how Micah was starting Hometown Heroes, and him and I had talked before, knowing that I was just coming out of playing college baseball, and sports has always been my life. I played, like Micah, a lot of different sports growing up, and then obviously continued to play in college. And then after I medically retired, I wanted to stay in sports, and I'm a sports management major at the University of Georgia. And so he kind of reconnected us and was basically like, hey, Micah's getting this thing started, y'all would kill it together. Both pretty good business mindset, but also, like you guys were saying, kind of the perfect match of Micah with the NIL experience already, and then me just coming out of college sports. So
No, you understand how athletes think, and you understand how businesses operate, and that's generally just a great combination.
Yeah, and it plays right into how we operate today. I mean, that's really the two main sides of our company is company relationships and athlete relationships, and that's exactly where we're separated there. So it's worked out pretty well so far, I think.
Absolutely. No, it seems like it's been a great pairing, a great match so far, as I see the results you guys have been able to achieve. So I want to know the name Hometown Heroes. What's the origin of that?
Yeah, so we go back to when we both played sports in high school. I mean, every high school team does camps for little kids, and so you kind of have your 1st through 6th graders come to these camps, and they look up to that high school team that is putting on that camp. So when I played football, we would put on these camps, and these kids would come, and they'd do the drills, and we'd walk them through these drills, and they looked up to us because we were, at that time, their hometown hero. And so when NIL was legalized, you saw your top 1%, your top 2%. They worked out, but that's because their value in that case came from the stage that they were on, the platform that they had. Well, the other athletes, kind of below that top 1% and 2%, their value doesn't come from the stage that they're on. It comes from their family, their friends, their school that they play for, their social media following, these type of things. And because of that, because back home they are that hometown hero, that's what gives them their value. It's not just because they're the starting quarterback. It's not just because you're the starting point guard. It's because you're a hometown hero.
It's because you have support,
Right.
which is what you're ultimately trying to deliver with Hometown Heroes. And that's interesting because it's also as if you guys have carved out your own niche for Hometown Heroes in the NIL industry, because I can't really think of any other NIL company that I've researched that exhibits that same vision or has that same mission for their company. So that's something that's really respectful, and I think will give you guys a lot of success, sustainable success here in the future.
Yeah. I think in a new industry like NIL that's been so like running and gunning and very fast paced, a lot of changes, it was really important for us, especially as young college students starting a company like this, to find that type of niche in the market, because there's a lot of big names, a lot of big agents, a lot of big athletes, and so it was a way for us to help people, but also find a way that we could succeed personally as well.
Yeah, it's like, don't try to be one of the big fishes, because they're already established. Find a niche for yourself and establish a foundation for your company based on that niche, and it's brought you guys a lot of success so far.
Yeah,
for sure.
So how do you guys at Hometown Heroes persuade athletes to sign with your agency?
Yeah, I think one big part that works in our favor is, like we've already talked about, the expertise in the industry. I mean, there's not a lot of people that right now can say that they've worked in NIL from the start. But also, me being familiar with athletes, Micah as well, and his previous job, and just me being an athlete, that helps a lot. But also, the way that our business works is a lot of the times we do non-exclusive contracts. So basically, for a lot of these athletes, we're a free source of NIL partnerships and deals. We do both, exclusive and non-exclusive, but us signing an athlete on a non-exclusive contract is basically they can still do, if a Nike comes to them personally, like, if we're not a part of it, we don't believe that's how business is done. And so we, in those non-exclusive contracts, are just a free source of business and NIL for them, and so that is really attractive to a lot of these athletes, that they can still work with their collectives or on their own, but also us working and finding deals for them.
So it's not as intimidating. You're pretty much there to support, like you said previously, and guide them to opportunity, and just be somebody who's a source for all those things without getting into the weeds of legality and getting into the crossfires when it comes to collectives, because as we all know, right now it's a developing industry, and when anything's developing, there can be unestablished boundaries. You don't know when you're crossing those boundaries.
Yeah.
So it's great that you guys have established something like that where players, because that's when it comes to NIL, that's what I'm a big advocate of, is maximizing the athlete's opportunity while they're at the institution that they're at, using their brands to curate a brand, the brand of the university, to curate a brand for themselves. And when you're looking at it from the athlete standpoint, which you have, that's got to be something that just looks really appealing.
Yeah, and I wasn't an athlete personally when NIL was out.
Well, yeah.
But I know just also from in conversation with athletes that NIL is also a really scary thing for some of them, because you're dealing with some cases 18, 19-year-olds that are talking some serious money and don't really understand contracts or legal terms or how business is really done. And so that's also a big part of why we're doing Hometown Heroes too, is we want to make sure that these guys that do have an opportunity to make some pretty good money in their time in college aren't getting taken advantage of in terms of contracts or things that they don't understand. So that's also attractive to athletes, is working with an agency like us. We're able to provide a lot of different tips, NIL education, or just ways that we can help them in whatever way possible.
And it's great to have that, because honestly, especially when something is somewhat in an industry so it's novel stage, you're going to have people that try to take advantage of, people that try to exploit athletes. And if you're like an 18, 19-year-old and you're signing big contracts, that can look really daunting. So to know that there's somebody that's really by their side and genuinely looking out for the best for them, that's something that's really comforting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see all kinds of stuff happen. We've worked on right around 60 deals for, I mean, each one of those deals have different value, but just being able to have that expertise of knowing what these deals look like, what the terms and what these contracts should include and should not include for those athletes, to make sure that everyone's protected, is where we really want to come in and make sure that we're helping the athlete with that.
Now, when it comes to that deal, how do you guys appreciate, or not appreciate, I just created a word, wow. Appreciate, I meant approach negotiating those deals for the athletes? Because, you want one thing, the company may want that's working with them may want another.
Yeah.
So how do you guys approach negotiating when it comes to securing deals then?
Yeah, well, you got to know what each party wants. You got to know, one, what each party's worth, and two, what each party wants. So the first thing we do when we bring on an athlete is they give us all of the information that we could possibly need, anything from their social media analytics to what their favorite hobbies are, their favorite brands are, what they do in their spare time, what kind of books they like to read, favorite subjects, what they're studying.
Food, recovery, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and so we go out and we find brands that match those things for that athlete, so we know, hey, the athlete likes these brands, the athlete uses brands like this, and then in turn on the company, we can say, hey, this is not just, we're not just trying to make money, like this is a genuine opportunity for you, for the athlete. They're an ambassador for you, whether this happens or not. But that then in turn makes that company more inclined to do a deal, because they know that this athlete has been supporting them, and now in turn they want to support that athlete. And so we make sure that we're finding companies that align with that athlete's interest. As far as kind of the value goes, we want to make sure that you're getting your worth in posts. If you have a super high number of following over here, then you want to make sure you're getting whatever it's worth to hit that number of following. Athletes have a lot of different benefits when it comes to marketing. They bring a lot of trust with their followers, more than just if you ran an Instagram ad. And so for companies, if you're going to spend $500 on an Instagram ad, or you can spend $500 on using an athlete and paying that athlete, you're going to get a lot more engagement and a lot more results, or a lot more return on your investment from that $500 with the athlete, instead of you just using the Instagram ad. And so really that's kind of our pitch, is look, we want to make sure that you're getting the greatest return on your investment. You know that the people who are seeing this ad are going to trust the person that's posting it. They want to be like the person that's posting it. They look up to the person that's posting it. But also, on the athlete side, it's genuine. And you're going to hit the maximum number of people, as opposed to just an Instagram ad that we all just scroll by anyways.
Oh yeah, whoever just engages with the random ad that you see on Instagram, not me. I know that for a fact. But if you've got somebody on there like a Bryce Young or a Stetson Bennett, like you mentioned earlier, marketing something, selling something, you're gonna listen, because this is somebody that you watching college. This is something that you supported. If that's your team, you can listen to what they have to say. So that's something that really good companies to buy into, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. Boost Mobile and Forbes did an article on Boost Mobile a couple months back, but it showed all of their results from their NIL program, and it more than doubled their engagement on their social media ads and the money that they were doing. It doubled their ROI, and their return on investment, I mean, was just through the walls, and they were spending just as much money on marketing. They were just doing it through college athletes instead of through other avenues. So
That's really interesting, and it multiplied their sales by that much.
yeah,
That is really amazing. It really demonstrates the power of college sports.
for sure.
So what is the vision moving forward, the 5-year plan, so to speak, for Hometown Heroes? Do you guys plan to continue this after graduation? Do you plan to move off somewhere else after that, or is that still under consideration?
Yeah, so we're both very close to graduating. I'll be done at Georgia in December, and then Micah will be graduating this coming May. But yeah, we definitely plan on working on Hometown Heroes after we graduate. It's always been the goal. We both came into this knowing that we wanted to do this full time. It's what we love to do. We love working together. We love working with our athletes. Vision-wise, at this point, it's just keep going and growing. We've been fortunate enough to grow as fast as we have in this first less than a year. So we'll be just at a year in August. So this summer is pretty pivotal for us. We here at the Edge doing CEA, the first time that we're able to work together that's not during school, so full time. Really growing our athletes, being able to connect to more companies. We're slowly moving into the collective side of things, which is a whole nother conversation. But we love what we're doing and definitely want to keep moving forward. So
Absolutely, and I'm happy to hear that too, because sometimes when you have college students start businesses while they're still in college, sometimes you move off afterwards. So to hear what you guys plan to continue with the vision afterwards, and you have that vision for the next 5 years, that's something that's really admirable as well. What about you, Micah? You plan to stay with us?
Yeah, I plan to stay with this. We've been really happy with what we've been able to accomplish so far, and we plan to continue to grow that, and we think that we can definitely do that. And so want to continue to grow, like Brett said. We're trying to get into the collective space, and there's a lot of opportunities in that in itself, and then also kind of looking into different athletic departments and what partnering with athletic departments would look like. So NIL just always changing. There's new legislation, new rules, new things happening every single day, and so we want to make sure that we're innovating and we're staying on top of that as the industry evolves.
How do you guys stay on top of trends when it comes to NIL?
dude, I tell you what, it's a great question because it's not easy, but Micah and I have a lot of, you go to our personal Instagrams, it's nonstop, like every day sending new posts on Instagram of a new legislation that came out or a new state law or whatever. It's not easy to, honestly I'd say that's like a quarter of our job is keeping up with what's going on, and we always call NIL the Wild Wild West because it's just so new and everything's changing always, but I think we're pretty confident that it's also not going away anytime soon. So that's the fun part, is we know hopefully we're here to stay, and NIL is definitely here to stay, and so if we can keep up and stay on top, then we'll keep staying neck and neck with competition and staying at kind of hopefully at the top of the food chain and keep going. So
Well, knowledge is power too, and the more informed you are, the more effective you're going to be. You stay current. You know how to operate your company with relation to current parameters, especially with something as liquid as the NIL industry is. So that's great to hear that you guys are invested in researching every day, because that's the only way that you're going to stay the best. And one more question before I close off. I'm kind of having a little bit of curiosity here. Do you have to tailor your approach for different athletic departments when it comes to getting into contact with athletes? Like are there some that you kind of approach differently?
Yeah, so you want to talk about really the Wild Wild West. Texas, the state of Texas, was just the first state to legalize for athletic departments to bring in third-party entities to facilitate NIL deals for their athletes. So in our case, we want to be that third-party entity. With that said, that was legalized about a week ago. So as far as the pitch goes, still kind of trying to nail that exactly down. We got a couple ideas, but that's the athletic department wise is definitely the newest thing in NIL.
Oh, I'm sure it's like getting around those laws and how do you talk to these athletic departments after, because even though something's been legalized, you still don't really know the temperature of the room.
Right.
So that's I'm sure one of your biggest hurdles when it comes to that.
Yeah, well, and you're also always scared, like, the state of Texas legalized this, but there's nothing technically stopping the U.S. federal government from
That's
back
true.
a month and
That's
saying,
true,
hey,
too.
never mind, can't do that.
Yeah.
So you gotta kind of tiptoe on a gray line.
Absolutely, that's all up in the air right now. But as far as finding your space and finding your identity in an industry that is still developing, very primitive and very much in its developmental stages, that's something that I'm really proud of you guys for. You guys have found your space in something that you said is really the wild west. There's no better way that I could put that. So for you gentlemen, I wish nothing but the best for the Hometown Hero Sports Agency, and I'm honored to have been here to interview you and for you guys to be my first interview for the era. So thanks you guys so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
man. Sure.
Good luck to your Bulldogs.
Hey, go Dogs.
This season. Hopefully we'll be seeing you in Atlanta.
We'll see you in
prayers up.
2024. We know that
Right.
for sure.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for that Tuscaloosa. You know I'm going to that game. Micah, great as always. Great having you on here, brother.
For sure.
Thank you guys all for watching. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe so that you can see all the videos when they're posted. So the more support I can get for this is also the Wild West. This channel. It's a new, young, primitive, growing channel. So the more support I can get, I really appreciate. But thank you guys again for coming on. And have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.